Most people are absolutely terrified of the idea of seeing a ghost or a spirit, and I totally get it. I used to be exactly the same, but not anymore. When you look at fear, it's usually born from the fact that we've watched films or we've received a narrative, the stories that have planted that fear within our own minds in some way, shape or form. It's not normally from the experience itself. We haven't necessarily looked at it from how it appears consciousness actually works. I found that when I shifted the way that I framed this, the fear started to just completely ebb away. Instead of thinking in terms of ghosts or spirits, it became more helpful to me anyway to think in terms of consciousness realms, dimensions, a field of reality. Awareness that isn't limited to the body but expresses itself through different ways, through different states, through different dimensions. And when you start to look at consciousness in that way, it doesn't feel fragile or threatening. It's not something that can harm you. It's the same fundamental energy and awareness that we're all part of. We're all consciousness, right? Are we scary too? Here's a simple way of thinking about it that might help. When you watch television, you're essentially watching images, aren't you, that are formed from a signal. And those images could be described as ghost-like. Why am I saying that? It's because they're light patterns appearing on the screen, sent from somewhere else, but that somewhere else has been through a conscious being. And now we're seeing those signals presented on a screen. Now you can't see the field in which those signals were sent, but we're not frightened of televisions, are we? Because we understand how it all works. Spirit communication can be understood in a similar way. It's consciousness expressing itself through a different medium rather than being something that's invading or threatening. Once people really understand that, fear can soften, because fear usually comes from just not understanding what we're dealing with. It's a bit like the internet too, isn't it? Years ago it felt mysterious or unsettling. We didn't know how it was going to affect our lives. And we do appreciate the fact that there is a dark web. So there's light and dark on the web itself. But we also appreciate the benefits that the internet has provided in our lives, and most of us aren't walking around frightened of the internet. We know how to use it, and we use it with respect, and we reap the benefits of doing so. So the spiritual dimensions are very similar. When we stop viewing them through horror and see them as consciousness itself, everything starts to make sense. And you start to be able to get rid of the spooky nature of it all and see it more as energy, frequency, light and consciousness. I'm Claire. I help people live from their soul and experience a life they can't lose. So tell me, have you ever seen a spirit or a ghost?